Welcome back to another Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm going to continue my Isaac Asimov series right now with his 13th published work titled Heredity. Heredity was published in Astonishing Stories in April of 1941. It is a novel-length work, and Astonishing, of course, was Frederick Pohl's magazine. Frederick Pohl was editing it, and Frederick Pohl was a good friend of Asimov's at this time. And obviously, Heredity had been rejected by John Campbell because that's where Asimov always went first. In the story Heredity, you have two brothers, one raised on Earth, one raised on Ganymede, where Ganymede is a moon of Jupiter, and in this universe at this time in 1941, Asimov imagines that it's an air-filled world where people can go and actually farm. So he's working on Ganymede as a laborer, while the other brother was raised on Earth, where he's got pretty much every possible convenience at his disposal. So they both own a company, and they get together on Mars at a testing ground. And I think the story is summed up best by this quote from the story. "The machines do their best," he said, but not too vehemently. "Sure, but that's all they can do. When the emergency comes, a man's got to do a damn lot better than his best or he's a goner." The first criticism I have of this story is that Asimov does a Ganymede accent, which really comes across like a southern drawl. So it doesn't really seem like a different dialect, you know what I mean? It seems like a normal Earth American South accent. But that's the sort of thing I hate when authors try to simulate that in books. It just slows down your reading because you got these words you have to sit and decipher. What is this word supposed to be? It's spelled all goofy. Because they spell it the way that the person talks, but it isn't spelled the way the word is supposed to be spelled. So it just slows you down, makes you have to stop and think about each word and what is it supposed to be, and then put the meaning together, which I hate in stories. I really think that's a bad idea for authors to do that. The whole point of the story seems to be that an over-reliance on machines to do stuff for us can very possibly lead us down a road to where the machines only know how to do it. And when the machines break down, because machines will eventually break down, you still have to have a person around who remembers how to fix it. But if you've turned it all over to the machines and the machines break down, now what are you going to do? It's like my mother used to work for Kmart, and they set up a system where all their cash registers were tied into their main computer network in Flint, Michigan. And there'd be times when something goes wrong with the network and the cash registers aren't working, or something locally would happen, like putting the power out, and the cash registers wouldn't be working. They couldn't use the cash registers. Well, all the cashiers then had to do everything by hand and note it down so that it could be entered in as soon as things were back up. But a lot of the younger cashiers could not calculate a simple 5% sales tax. They couldn't do it, not in their head, not on paper. They didn't know how. They relied on calculators and computers to do this sort of thing for them. So when the cash registers went down that did it automatically and they had to do it by hand, they simply didn't know what to do. And so then the older people like my mother had to go up and work the registers because they were actually able to calculate a 5% sales tax. It illustrates a danger we're heading into with our current world of the rise of AI and the seeming rush of business to adopt AI um, into its workflow and allow AI to do a lot of things that they would have had people doing. Now, we're still fairly early with that. So, right now, somebody has to be watchdogging the AI results and making sure that it's correct. But at some point, the AI is going to be good enough where they're not going to be doing that anymore. They're just going to be relying on the AI to do everything. Or at least that's the road I suspect will go down. And when we go that way, now you'll have employees that will, as the older employees retire who used to do it without AI, the younger employees are not going to be able to do it without AI. So if something like a virus gets into the system and brings down the AI programs, which I'm pretty sure hackers will do on a regular basis, or at least try to do, now your employees will need to do it the old-fashioned way, but they won't know how. And that's a dangerous situation we're putting ourselves in, relying on computers to replace human beings when it comes to things where you need to think. This is dangerous. You need human beings there thinking, and you need to continue to have them there thinking. Even if you're using the AIs, you need to have human backups looking at it all, thinking about it all, so that if something happens and the AIs aren't functioning today, you can still move forward without them. But in Heredity, Asimov sees the reality that we would probably just allow that skill set to die in human beings because the machines can do it better. So that's what's at the heart of Heredity, is a message about over-reliance on machines, over-reliance on computers, over-reliance on AI, and the need to keep human beings able to do things the old way if things break down. It's not exactly one of Asimov's best stories, but it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. It has a good point to make, but it is Asimov in April of 1941. It is what I say his 13th story. So I don't think this one qualifies as a top tale. Not that good. But for any Asimov fans, I could recommend this. It's a good one to read because it does fit into Asimov's overall thinking quite well. And of course you'll see some of these ideas come up in some of his robot stories where he's thinking about these issues of robots integrating into our society and what kind of problems might there be. And to that end, in the same month, he published the first of his true robot stories where he's introducing the three laws of robotics called Reason. This was also published in April 1941, but I'm marking it as his 14th story. You could flip a coin and say this one's 13 and Heredity's 14. On my list, Heredity lands at 13 and Reason is number 14. And it was his next work published in Astounding. So that'll be an interesting one to talk about. One of his more important works. There's Reason, and then right after that is Liar, which is the next robot story. So we got some good ones coming up. Lots of good Isaac Asimov. And of course, if you've read Heredity, leave your comments. If you just have something to say about Asimov, we'd like to hear your comments about him. And otherwise, hit the like on the video, hit the subscribe on our channel if you're not subscribed. Those two things help to boost us so that other people can find these videos. There's a lot of people I suspect would have a great interest in what I'm talking about, going through all these authors step by step, going through their whole career and just showing how they've developed from the start, from their very earliest teenage amateurish efforts and developed into their mature styles. I find it fascinating. I hope you do. I think there's a lot of people out there that would love this, but they're not finding us because we're just not getting enough views and enough likes for YouTube to promote us to those people. So that's where I need you. Hit the like button, watch the video as far through as you can stand, and come on back for more. I've got lots more by Asimov. This is only his 13th. And I've got a lot of other authors I'm talking about. Philip Dick, Harlan Ellison, Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft. Lots and lots of people to talk about. I'm going through all their stories, sometimes with Emily, and we're talking about them as deeply as we possibly can without completely spoiling them. So come on back for more, and I'll see you in the next one.